Market Prospects, delivering timely information and education to prairie farmers for over 25 years. Market Prospects is brought to you by the University of Saskatchewan's Department of Bioresource Policy, Business and Economics, and these sponsors. Log on to marketprospects.usask.ca to view past programs and for information on upcoming programs.
This week on Market Prospects, a look at the pulse crops, peas and beans. Once again, we're pleased to have Brian Clancey, partner with Staff Publishing, as our guest to talk about these crops. Welcome, Mr. Clancey.
Howdy.
So please review last year's prairie field pea production and the crop's current market conditions, and then comment on what you see for the peas for the rest of the current crop year.
I think when you look back a year ago, by the time seeding happened, we were looking at a reduced acreage. We were looking at very tight ending stocks a year ago, and markets were really concerned about how many peas would be produced in Western Canada, and that caused prices to go up into through the spring and into the summer. Also, the fact that it was kind of rainy and things like that created some worry and concern in markets about what would happen. As you know, however, that rain turned out to make a lot of grain, and last year's pea crop was a record, and prices have since fallen quite precipitously. Last year we were looking at, say, yellow peas closing in on $10 a bushel. Right now we're down around $6.50, $6 a bushel. So it's quite a significant decline. And that's all just related to the amount of stocks that were there. As a result of that huge production, we're looking at a situation where our ending stocks this year will be up significantly, more than double what they were last year. Last year was about 174,000 tons. This year could be anywhere between 450 and 510,000 metric tons of carryover, with most of that being yellow peas. That's having, pardon me?
Right, so you touched on this a bit. What's your forecast for Canadian acreage and prices for yellow peas and green peas for the upcoming crop year?
The interesting thing is that even with all of that, with all the price declines, peas are actually performing better than wheat, canola on a relative basis to what they had been in the past. As a result, we have a really good potential for acreage this year to go up potentially as high as 4 million acres, which would be a record for peas. It could be a lot lower than that, between 360 and 4 million, but there's a thought it could be up to around 4 million acres. However, if average yields return to normal, if acreage was the same or up only a little bit, production would be down significantly from last year. If we grow 4 million acres of peas and have average yields, we'll be looking at production at being about the same. Markets are really believe that acreage will be up, with the result that new crop prices for both green and yellow peas is down from spot levels, and so there's this sense that we'll see quite an increase next year.
So what's available for 2014 pea production contracts, and what factors should farmers consider when contracting opportunities for price and movement?
Right now there are production contracts available for both yellow and green peas. I think the prices on yellow peas are probably around $5.50 a bushel, on green peas around $6.50 a bushel. And what that indicates is that the old crop prices will want to come down to those levels, so that means you want to be selling your old crop. For new crop production, I think you want to get a good mix of fixed delivery contracts, things with a guaranteed delivery option in the fall. You may want to speculate on some of it. You don't want to oversell things just in case acreage were not to go up as much as expected. So you have that risk and that potential for prices to be higher next year than currently thought. So I think there's good chances to contract. Prices are down a lot from where they were a year ago, but at this level, they still look like they'll be profitable.
What are the opportunities for production in the minor types of peas in the coming year?
I think that most of the emphasis is going to be on yellow and green peas. Minor pea production will probably not increase very much. Maple peas will probably be little change from last year. New crop prices on them are about the same as spot markets. Marrow fat peas are similar, with new crop opportunities being about the same levels as spot markets. And that's just because the supply is not very substantial for either of them. They're very minor commodities, and that just isn't going to change.
What's currently happening with the prairie faba bean and soybean production in markets, and what's your forecast for acreage and prices for the upcoming crop year?
I think of the two, between faba beans and soybeans are the most interesting. Most of the soybean production is in southeastern Saskatchewan. That's an area where pea and lentil production both have declined over the recent years, and soybeans have grown there. They're growing, they're not growing yet as fast as farmers are leaving the other pulses, but that will change. This year, it looks very likely that soybean area in Saskatchewan will double over what it was last year, and that is just the beginning of growth. I know there's a lot of optimism that we could end up seeing Saskatchewan grow as many soybeans as Manitoba. I think that's a few years down the road, but the potential is definitely there. In terms of price, it's much easier than with peas or lentils because you just have to look at the Chicago futures market. That tells you your future price potential, and then it's just a matter of finding production contracts with companies to see what you can get locally. Faba beans, I don't think there will be very much grown next year. Canada's an unimportant producer in the world, and that just isn't going to change.
Well, thanks again for your comments on beans and peas, Mr. Clancey.
Thank you.
Okay, stay with us. We return after a few messages. Please stay with us.